What's going on? It's the RapNerd, and we are officially in November. I have compiled a list of some of my favorite political horror films and TV shows. Now, for full transparency, these are films where politics are the main piece of the storyline and not like underlining political themes that you can kind of pull from anywhere. So I just wanted to make that clear. And as I said, these are my favorite ones. So if you have one that does not make this list, it's not because I don't know about it, or it could be because I don't know about it, but I'm just choosing films and shows from what I've seen and the ones that I really like. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to start with a few that were released this year, and I'm going to start with one that is probably the most popular because it was heavily advertised, and it's from the studio A24, and that is called Civil War, directed by Alex Garland. So this movie follows a group of photographers and journalists looking to grab some exclusive photos and possible stories during this new election, causing a new civil war to break out. And this film is equal parts action, horror, thriller. You know, I feel like it embodies all of those things well. And it plays out for me like a Purge movie, but if it was real. Because it doesn't have all of the campy things the Purge movies have in it, where people dressed in glow-in-the-dark masks and characters feeling like they're ripped out of a Looney Tune cartoon. It's none of that. It operates from a realistic standpoint, and that's part of the reason that makes it so terrifying. And I also did a full review on that if you want to see all of my thoughts and what I can get into, because I really think it's a well-made film with some great performances. There's a few questionable things that happen at the end, but I feel like those things don't take away from the movie as a whole, and I do actually plan on rewatching it this month, and I've been saving it for this month, to be real. Because November is election season, even outside of the presidential debate. Each year, local elections also take place, which I do think you should also take part in voting for, because those elections have to do with your community. Not trying to be an admin here, but it just is what it is. I'm an adult with kids, so I take my part in voting. But I always watch these type of films when November hits. Political, thriller, horror, action, whatever it may be. So for me, Civil War is going to fall right into that category and join that list of movies that I watch around this time of year. So if you haven't seen it, now is a great time to watch it. So if you have not watched it, it's on HBO Max right now, and the Blu-ray is available almost at any store. I think I was in Walmart the other day and saw it sitting there. So definitely give this one a watch if you're looking for something political. So this next one on the list, I'm pretty sure a lot of people have not heard of it. It was released earlier this year, and it's an indie film called Founders Day. Now this is a slasher film that plays out like a whodunit, and boy, do I love this movie. It's a whole lot of fun. So the synopsis is it's November in this town in the New England area. I didn't look at the synopsis before saying it, so you gotta excuse me for not knowing the exact point, but it's somewhere in the New England area. And it's a new election going on to vote a new mayor in office. And as the election takes place, a mass killer shows up wielding a gavel with a knife inside, and he's knocking people off one by one. And all of those folks are associated with the two elects going head to head. Now, honestly, this is nothing new. It doesn't reinvent the wheel on slashers. I don't think it's super great. Don't think it's bad either. I think it's right there in the middle. It's well made, and the costume is pretty cool. And those two concepts to me just make for a nice slasher movie to watch. And I also like what this movie does with the reveal. As you start getting into the plot more, trying to figure out who's the one behind the mask when you get to the end, I like how it is cleverly written. And it might not work for some because it could seem like it's a stretch, but I do like the effort in making it a bit different, and also what it stands for as far as politics and just being a human living in this world. So it captures the election vibe, and it did shoot it during autumn season. So while you're going to these different places in this small town, you see the foliage and the bad pumpkins and all of the things that come with the fall atmosphere. So it definitely makes for a great watch around this time of year. The Blu-ray is also out for that, and if I remember correct, it's on Tubi right now to watch for free. So Founders Day, give it a watch. The next film is another one that I don't think was promoted well and you might not know about, but it is called Humane. And this movie, I think, has a Blu-ray. Don't quote me on that, but I know for sure it's on Shudder. So the synopsis of this film is in the future. I forgot how many years it is. So the government has devised this plan for population control. And what this plan entails is it's a draft that works kind of lottery-esque, and they pick a family, and from that family, two options can happen. One of the family members chooses to sacrifice themselves, or two, the family picks someone to sacrifice themselves. And in this film, they choose a family that has a successful dad that has enabled the rest of the kids to kind of do what they please. And as you can imagine, just from that small synopsis, where this goes. Now, this film also takes place during the autumn season and has the same autumn atmosphere that I described with Founders Day, with foliage, cold weather, all that type of things. It really digs deep in the aspect of family and wealth, all pushed by politics. And I think this is a movie that I don't want to give much more. You just have to go into it and roll with the story as it unravels, because man, oh man, does it get nasty amongst the family. This is definitely a great watch for around this time of year and to go with the overall thing that I'm talking about. So that's all I'm gonna say. It's on Shudder. If you're interested, definitely give it a watch. So now I'm going to get into some older films that have released in the past, and the first one that I am going to put on this list is The Hunt. Now, this story follows a group of wealthy business people that abduct people from their regular lives and bring them to this estate and just hunt them down. But the basis of the hunt here is they choose people who have strong political views that they don't agree with. And that's where the politics come in play. Now, this film is a lot more action-centric than I thought it was when I went into it, but boy, oh boy, is it a lot of fun. And because it deals with politics and these type of different views, it's a black comedy, so there's a lot of funny things that come with it. I even love how the film opens, because you think you're gonna go one way and it totally flips that on its head. And as things elevate, the action of the film opens up a lot, and that part I didn't know was coming, and I really appreciate it. This is a film that I watch every time around this year, because yet again, it does have that cold autumn feel to it, and it's just a fun film to watch. So The Hunt is one that fits well within this list. So the next film is a sleeper of a movie. Don't think I've heard anyone speak about this, but it is a movie called Bushwick, starring Batista and Brittany Snow. So the story takes place in Brooklyn, hence the name Bushwick, and Brittany is there to meet her fiance. And when she arrives there, all hell breaks loose when militia hits the streets of Brooklyn and just starts killing people left and right. She has to duck for cover to find her way out the city, and in the midst of that, she runs into the Batista, and the story follows both of them trying to make their way out of the city. And the basis of the militia hitting the streets of Bushwick is Texas, I believe is the state, has chose to resign from being part of America, and they send their folks to Brooklyn to try and take over the city, and it's just all out war. This movie reminded me of The Purge, especially with the way that it carries out its action, but what made the experience so entertaining for me is that the whole film is captured like it was shot in one single shot. So it really puts you in the thick of everything that goes on with Batista and Brittany this entire time. Hell of a ride, and this is politics at its worst. So the next film on this list is Land of the Dead, and this is in a world where the zombie apocalypse has overrun the world and there are only 2 cities left. And as humans do, we find our way to make everything political and find something that divides us too. So these 2 cities are at war, going back and forth, but the zombies have infested the middle ground area. But the thing that makes this movie even more clever is while the humans are having their back and forth with politics, the zombies have grown so much intelligence that they're also, in a way, taking the humans to war. And things just start slow and it just escalates and escalates to insanity. And I feel like this is a great political film, because it's very similar to what you've seen in The Walking Dead, but just on a lower scale between these 2 cities. And I find it to be very entertaining, especially coming from a guy that really loves zombie films. So Land of the Dead, definitely check that out if you haven't. And of course, the last movie on the list wouldn't be a political horror thriller if I didn't include The Purge election year. And honestly, you can put all the movies with this list. I watch them all month because it doesn't get more political in modern day than these films, but election year specifically, being called election year, gotta highlight that one. If you have not seen the other films, I definitely think that you should at least see The Purge and Anarchy first to understand where we're going, and then election year, because it has a character from the prior film in it, and it's going to make more sense if you've seen that. But again, all of these movies are political. I mean, government allowing a full day with all crime being legal and only the top upper echelon people of society are off limits. That concept on its own is a political nightmare. And to add on with the movie, there are actually 2 TV show seasons on Hulu that you can watch. I think the quality of those films are on par with the other ones as well. So I'm saying election year, but The Purge in general can be movies that you watch during this time. And to piggyback off of the Purge TV show, which that in itself is a suggestion, the next two joints are also TV shows that I feel like go right along with this theme. And the first one is American Horror Story Cult, and this is season 7. Now, the quick synopsis I'm going to give is really quick because, like every American Horror Story, it is pretty difficult to sum up the whole season without doing spoilers. So, a quick synopsis is: during election season for a new president, a cult forms based on this president, and they just go out doing a whole bunch of lewd acts. And as you can imagine, with each season, it just escalates to crazy levels. Now, this is straight up about an election, so I feel like it goes with the theme very well. And it ironically seems like it told the future 4 years prior, when Trump's Proud Boys stormed the White House when he lost. It's another one of those things of life imitating art, because it's nuts that this told a similar story in similar ways and how we got there in 2020. And if you watch American Horror Story, you already know that they use all of the same actors, so the performances are always on par, and this was one of my favorite ones. I remember watching this the year of the election, and it kind of scared me because I was like, I could kind of see some of this stuff happening. The realism in here takes it to a different level. So if you are interested in keeping the election political horror energy up, this one provides that for each episode. And the last show that I'm going to suggest is The Handmaid's Tale. I don't even know what season this thing is on. It's been running for a while, but it's been successful. To be real, I haven't even finished this show because of how traumatizing it is. So the story follows the city, and just like Bushwick, this city has decided to renounce its position in America and be its own city. And in this city specifically, they have regressed in the way that they handle things. So they have made all of the women these people called handsmaids, where they dress in red and have these little white hoods. And it's pretty much modern day slavery, but just for women instead. They have no right in anything. They get assigned to a family. They do all the things that come with being an illegal servant that you can imagine, from cleaning to caring for and having children against their will. And as I've said, this show is brutal and it is very exhausting emotionally. But one of the things that kept me watching is just how beautifully shot this thing is. I mean, every episode is just like reading a graphic novel or just going through a museum of paintings because of how gorgeously filmed this show is. From the framing to the color palette to the camera movement, it's just a delight to look at, which is crazy because of how brutal the material is. And all of the performances in this show are incredible, and it's why it's been running so long. I forgot the lead's actress name, but she starred in Invisible Man. You know what I'm talking about if you've seen it. I'm really bad with names, but she leads the show, and she does such an impeccable job of playing the character named Offred, who wears all of her emotions on her face by either showing them or hiding them. She's able to use her very bright eyes to convey the feelings that she has, and it's just done remarkably. Like I said, it's so heart-wrenching that, again, I had to stop watching it because it just made me, I couldn't sleep with some of the episodes. So, and honestly, I just haven't returned back to it just because of how life is gone. But I definitely do plan to, because it is an excellent and gripping story that also fits this theme here. So, Handmaid's Tale, it's on Hulu right now if you do want to watch it. So that's my list of political horror and thrillers. Let me know in the comments below of what movies that aren't on this list that you like to watch. And if you like this kind of content, make sure to like and subscribe. And if you already are subscribed, thank you. Until next time, peace.
RapNerd Productions, no capping, that's word to mommy. Instead of banking on it, now rapping is just a hobby.